I'm curious about the distinction between somebody questioning you about who you are and somebody somehow telling you, like, "No, no, no, but where are
Mhm.
you really from?" Because
Mm.
that's not a question, that's somebody telling you to correct yourself to give them the answer they want.
Yes.
So, Maria, has there been a moment
Ooh.
where you're just like,
Uh-uh.
"Somebody's telling me something that I do not want to hear anymore?"
Every day. Unfortunately, still living in New York, I get it very often. I remember, for example, years ago, I was working as I was doing a side job with like banquet serving. And I was talking to one of my colleagues in Spanish. He was, I believe, Mexican, and we were just chatting back and forth. ¿A dónde ponemos los vasos? ¿A dónde ponemos los platos? And this man behind me who we were serving, he like waited for me to finish what I was doing and then was like, I'm so sorry. Where are you from? Because you speak Spanish so well, and my wife is Argentinian, and like, I mean, it sounds a little bit different, and I'm not sure, but it was like accusatory, very much like, did you go to
Huh.
school to learn Spanish so well, kind of?
Mm.
And I said, I'm Dominican. And granted, the proper term is Dominican American, and my parents are Dominican, but I like to be very proud and say I'm Dominican and have people sit with that. Sit with that and like hold on to that and figure it out.
Mm.
And he was very like taken aback that I was very firm and like, I'm Dominican. And he's
Mm.
like, yeah, but what? I'm like, I'm Dominican. Is there anything else I could do for you? And he was sort of just like,
I'm curious, like, what he didn't believe. Like, what was the next question supposed to like, what about
right,
my answer wasn't pleasing? Like, I'm
right,
genuinely curious, like, what he was hoping to get. Like,
right.
you know what I
Mhm.
mean? The idea in his head. And anyway, that's
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ian, what is the most recent moment where you had to force somebody to sit with your answer of like, not only am I Latino, I'm Honduran American, just bye. Like
Y
end of conversation, punto final. Let's
yeah,
move on.
um, it never feels like someone is trying to, like, to
Oh, a
out me.
gotcha moment.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it doesn't, and I think that's a little bit of my own, like, the way that I walk in the world, like, a little bit of my delulu-ness of just, like, I'm really in charge of, like, my my energy, so, like, even if someone maybe was like, "Wait, so, like, where are you from?" I take that as, like, he's really interested. Oh, like, I don't know, to me, it's just a conversation starter, and so
Right.
and then as I get to answer and tell them, then they're, like, super surprised, which I love because 'cause I'm a show off and I love to surprise people. Like, to me, it just feeds my ego, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
I take it and I take it and I absorb it in a way that feels very, like, empowering, you know? Especially because I think it just, like, surprises them, and then they feel like they go, "But I wonder," this is an interesting
Mhm.
conversation, if I was in their head, I wonder if they're like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." I'm literally making something up right now, but this is fun to do hypothetical. But I wonder if they're like, "Oh my god, that's great," because I'm white passing, and
That's
so
a
to them, they're like, "Oh, you're
okay.
white passing. That's so look at my god, that's amazing. But
Yeah.
you're Hispanic." And I'm like, "Yeah." They never say that, but, they're
Right.
like, "Oh, that's so it's cool about you." I
Yeah.
wonder if that's, like, a thing or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm, again,
If
gilding a
if
lily
it's
there.
a fun form of the flavor where you get to experience all the Latinidad with all of the, like, weird baggage that comes with color.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
something that I have dealt with my entire life, especially leaving my hometown of Eagle Pass, Texas, is,
Yes.
"Oh, this dude's brown, can't really hide." In Mexican saying, it's like el nopal en la frente, where you have the cactus so big on your forehead, you can't hide that you're Mexican.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know that my nopal is quite big,
Mhm.
and I've found navigating that my entire life very interesting, and just, like, knowing the clues that you give off and at some point being appreciative of those clues because they can be kinda fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just hit me. One of the other things that I think is the most obvious thing about me is my queerness, is like that I'm
Nice.
gay. It's just always been, I think maybe that's another reason why my Latinidad has never been a thing that, like, obviously white passing, blah, blah, blah. But the most obvious thing about me is like, that's a gay person. I've just never really been able to hide it, or like I wasn't able to be, I wasn't that person in high school who, like, got to say I was straight and people bought it, and, like, I had it just wasn't like that for me. I was always kind of, like, authentically me, in a great way. I went to performing arts high school that like allowed that to be, and I had friends around me who I felt supported by. So I think that has been the first thing that is sort of like the that's like my color. My color is my gayness. You know what I mean?